Hi, this is Dr. Cook. Welcome to week one of your English course. Before we begin, I want to go over just a couple things. One reminder is that you can email me, but I will answer your emails Monday through Friday. Generally speaking, if you email me over the weekend, I'll email you back on Monday. I try not to work on the weekends as much as possible. If it's an absolute emergency, then let me know that. Otherwise, you can expect probably an email early Monday morning. The turnaround for emails generally during the week is within 24 hours, but I'm on a lot, so I usually will get to your email much sooner. Check your announcements regularly, and in order to do that, I will usually send out an announcement on Monday and usually probably on Thursday, not always twice a week, but sometimes twice a week. To make sure that you don't miss any of the announcements, you need to do the following. Regardless of the course that you're taking, you want to do a couple things to make sure that you don't miss any of the announcements. So when you log into whatever course it is, and it doesn't have to be an online or even a hybrid course, it can be a face-to-face course. You want to go to the first announcement and look at that little arrow, click on that arrow, and then scroll down to notifications. When you get to notifications, you can put an email in. I already have mine. You can then register your cell phone. So again, just go through the steps. And then make sure you hit save. So you want to go down to where it says assignments, new announcement, and you can check SMS, which is actually the text messaging. You can only choose that if you've given in your cell phone. And you can choose notification by email. You have other options if you want to put those in, but definitely the announcements are important. I would also go down to grade item released and grade item updated and save those two. Make sure you have include my grade notification from the grades, because that will tell you exactly what your grade is. And once you have that in, hit save. And that way, anytime that there's a new announcement, you'll get that message automatically. Every time I post a grade, you'll get the grade notification as well. Now that you set up your notifications, I would like to look at week one's assignments, the interview report, and talk about some of the specific requirements that I would like you to do. So the interview report is all about conducting an interview with a person of your choice who is in the major that you intend to go into. So if you want to be a nurse, you should interview a nurse. If you want to go into law enforcement, you should interview a judge, a parole agent, a police officer. Okay, that's up to you which particular area you want to concentrate on, but you want someone who knows that particular major. So the whole object of this assignment is to begin to familiarize yourselves with the actual major that you intend and the job that you intend to do. So when I talk about interviewing a person, I mean you're going to interview the person not about themselves, but about the job. The focus the entire time should be on the job, not whether the person likes doing the job. That would be a very minor thing, but you want to focus on what it is exactly that job does. And you're doing a report on the position, not on the person. And that's key to understanding here. So I don't need a lot about the background, just a little bit about the background of the person. But the person really is your source of information, and they're not at all the focus of this paper. And as long as you understand that, you should be good. Make sure you look over the guidelines. I do want to pull up the guidelines now, just to review them again. So this does talk about, the getting to know the person and who you're going to interview. So In the introduction of the report, you'll have a little introduction about the person. But the body paragraphs, there are 5 body paragraphs that are required. You have 2 areas which are a must, and then you have 3 areas that you can decide on the topics. This can be in, or should be in third person, first person in terms of the conclusion and your reflection. You should not use you anywhere in this paper. That's important to understand. No you, and mostly third person. You're using that person as a source of information. So-and-so said that. So-and-so reported that. So the actual word count is 900 to 1,200 words. And I do want to look at the areas. So the 2 required areas are communication, and you need to talk about both written and oral communication. Okay, so whatever questions you ask, you have to address written and you have to address oral. So communication is one topic. The second topic, you have a choice. You can either choose current trends or ethics in the field. You do not have to do both, and you should not do both. So communication, written and oral, and current trends or ethics in the field. Those are your choices for the 2 topics. You then have to come up with 3 topics on your own. So the first thing you're going to do is you need approval of the person. So as soon as you know who you want to interview, you need to send me that information. The second thing you need to do, and that's what's due this week, is the interview questions. So you want to come as quickly as possible, make a list of your questions. They should be open-ended questions. In other words, no, yes, or no questions. Okay, that's key. You want to have a conversation and you want to have the person expand. If you do the interview correctly, the person will be doing all the talking and you won't. Make sure you're polite. Make sure you set up an appointment ahead of time. You need to do this as soon as possible because the interview has to be finished by the end of next week. So I need to know who it is, and then I also need your interview questions. And the interview questions you're going to upload to the bottom here where it says activities to do, and we'll just look at that. So to upload, you simply add attachments and then send it to me. Okay, this is the question worksheet. So there's your first category. 1 question is given to you or for you. You have to have 2 more. And then either choose ethics or innovations. It depends on your field. Some fields don't lend themselves to the one or the other. That's up to you, but don't do both. Just choose one or the other. So here's a question for innovation. Here's a question for ethics. And then you have to come up with at least 1 more. Remember, for each category, you need to write a complete paragraph of 8 to 10 sentences. So you need enough information that you can actually write the whole paragraph. So make sure you have good questions and actually listen to what the person says and ask follow-up questions, because once you leave and that person's no longer there, you only have what you wrote down. So the more you write down and the more questions that you ask and the more follow-up questions that you ask, the better off you'll be. You'll have to write the title of the 3rd category and then your questions, the title of the 4th category and the questions, the title of the 5th category and the questions. You're not limited to 2 questions. I would add more if you can think of more. All right, so this is crucial. This is the crucial part. But again, you're not focusing on the person, you're focusing on the job. And that's the key. So this week, as soon as you find out who you want to interview, send me an email for approval. Secondly, get your questions approved. Once you have the person approved and I've looked at your questions, and as soon as you send them in, I will be grading them the entire week and giving you feedback. You might have to revise your questions. You might have to add some. No yes or no questions. Only open-ended questions. The interview questions are due at the end of the week, but I would do it as soon as possible. That way you can get your interview conducted as soon as possible. But do know by Sunday of next week, you want to have conducted the interview, because you have to then, the next step is to write the thank you letter. Next week, I will show you a copy or an example of the interview report so you have an idea of what it looks like. So you know how all the information that you need to start working on the interview questions and contacting the person. I will also send a message on Thursday. I'll address a little bit of the first grammar topic. If you haven't got your book, get it as soon as possible. You want to look at the calendar for when the first quiz or test is due. I think it is next week, so there's no rush at this point, but you don't want to put it off. The grammar book or the handbook is just that, a handbook with some grammar exercises in it. It really is important that you do some of the exercises, and the answer key is posted under resources so you can check your answers. All right, that's part of the online course, is that you work through this on your own. Don't skip it, because the tests do add up, and there are a number of them. You want to do well on it. Just one last thing before you go. All of the assignments you have to submit in the order in which they're assigned, and they won't open up. The further assignments won't open up until you submit one. So until you submit the interview questions, you won't see what the next thing is that you need to submit. So you can't put things off in this class, or you can't move forward. So make sure you actually submit all your work on time. And if you don't submit it on time, watch the late policy, but get it submitted as soon as possible so that you can see what the next assignment is. The only exception are the quizzes. If you fail a quiz, you can retake a quiz. The retake will only open up if you, one, have missed the deadline for the first quiz, or you failed it. If you didn't fail the quiz, you will not see the retake. So that's an important thing to note. I don't want people doing the retake who've already passed the quiz, because it's only for those people who got a 75 or below a 75. The highest you can get on the retake is a 75%. This is the same for your papers. If you fail a paper or get below 75, you have a chance to do a rewrite, and the maximum score is 75%. If you're late, the late policy applies. So now that you have the information, if you have any questions, email me. I'll be happy now to answer your questions. And if you still have no idea what to do in terms of the interview and the questions, then you can make an appointment with me. If you go to the instructor info page under Getting Started, at the bottom there is a link that you can click on, and you'll see my office hours. You can click on those. It does not have to be that you come in person. As long as you have a computer with a camera and a microphone, I can also contact you, and I have a virtual office, and we can meet virtually as well, because some people can't get to campus. If you can't meet at any of those times, we can make arrangements for a time outside those hours. All right, have a good week, and look for Thursday's announcement.